Hello and welcome to Codeeze Radio Workshop. Here we are again in these UK lockdown times. Can't go out, can't see anybody, can't do anything. The one thing I have been able to do, because I can't get to my stock of radios waiting to be repaired, is buy some more radios. This one has just arrived today. It is a Roberts RT22. It said in the description that it was in good working order. I have had a battery on there, and it works on medium and it works on long, but it's not working on VHF. So we obviously do have an issue with it. Notwithstanding the electrical issue, it's got some cosmetic things going on. The badge is missing from the front. The bright is missing from the button, but most importantly, round the back we have an added jack socket for mains power. I'm never too happy to see these because they should be what they are, but depending on how it's been done, it might stay, or I might remove it if it's possible to remove it. It depends on how this has been fitted, whether it's a surface mount, whether it's a small hole. If it's a large hole, I'll just leave it as it is. But yeah, let's have a look. First thing I've noticed with it is it passes my spin test. It has to spin 5 times, which it clearly does. So that means that the rotating base on the bottom has still got some modicum of grease in there. Also notice on the bottom that the aerial screw is missing. That may have some bearing on the VHF performance, although I actually think it's going to be the switch. So let's start taking it apart and we'll have a look and see. I hope everybody's well in these lockdown times. I'm going to have to get the technical tapper out in a moment. These usually come off. There we go, a sharper tap and a sharper tap on the other side. That's quite brutal. I'm not into doing brutal videos. There are plenty of brutal videos out there of people taking radios to pieces. I tend to use my fist rather than a physical tool such as a mallet, for instance. So we need to remove the 2 shoulder screws because that is what's holding. Well, it's not actually what's holding. They are just the handle screws, but because we're going to do the teak cheeks, I got carried away there. I thought I was working on a different set for a moment, where these do actually hold the radio in. They don't hold the radio in. But because I will be doing the teak cheeks, they do have to be removed as well. So I'll take the bottom off the radio. Looking inside, I can see there is a rather large hole where the DC jack socket has been fitted, and there's not an awful lot of room there between the terminals on the jack socket and the PCB. That said, it does look like it's been done quite well by somebody that kind of knows perhaps what they were doing. So that fills me with a little more confidence than I had 5 minutes ago. Disconnect the speaker and get a different driver, and we'll loosen the side straps off, and then we should be able to push the radio out from the top to an extent. I am a little troubled about that DC jack socket. But there we go, that was quite easy. Now, that DC jack socket, the wire is particularly short. can see inside where they've fitted it underneath a clip, so I'm going to need a suitable tool to just try and open that clip up, just so I can move that wire like that. Then we should be able to withdraw it a bit further, and we can see then what perhaps somebody has done. Just remove my screwdriver that got trapped inside. So we are now at the extent of the wire. Really nicely done, actually. I can show you that in... Probably better to show you that in a moment because you're not going to see, but if I move that light that way, it has been... There's a positive wire, don't know whether you will see, on the circuit board, and the negative wire just there on the circuit board. Those are the two wires that come directly from the DC power socket, and the other two, I've got two earths on there. Nevertheless, it has been done by somebody that knows what they're doing. So I need to remove those. So before I do, I'm going to take a photograph of where the wires are. It's not a modification that I would usually do myself, so it's going to be quite handy as a reference. I've got that one. And just need to angle it properly for my photograph smile. Because I will be removing those wires so that we can take out the radio and have a look better. So if I just wait a moment for my desolderer to warm up, I will be back shortly. Here we are. I've removed the radio from the case. I decided to remove the wires from the jack plug rather than remove them from the board. That just makes life a lot easier. Looking inside, I can see that there is, here is an orange wire, which is the aerial wire, and that isn't attached to the aerial clip where it should be attached. So that might be the issue that we've got with VHF not working. The aerial may well need to be extended for it to receive the signal that it needs at the strength that it needs. I can see that it has had some previous work inside done, although it's not been recapped. And looking on the other side, on the tuner module, it's been signed by JEP. So whoever JEP is has most likely carried out this work to add the power jack. So we are going to recap this, and we might as well while we're in here. I just noticed that there are two diode legs there. Apologies, just touching. So I've just moved those apart. I'm also looking now for anything else that might be bent over and touching, because that might affect the performance and the reception. Can't see anything else so obvious, but while I think about this, I will spray the switch bank as well, because that also may be a problem for the set. It might have a dirty wave bank switches. Try a bit more in each one just to make double sure, and it is only a smidge, and then let gravity do its work, let the electrical cleaner work its way down the switches. And I can already feel that there's less resistance in that switch bank now. Again, because we're already here, we may as well do the volume pot as well, and that has instantly freed up the resistance in there as well. Just work that many and several times. There we go. Apologies, by the way, I've not mentioned this before, but we're doing this at a slightly different camera angle. My overhead, which is my preferred way of doing things, my overhead mount is out of action at the moment, so I apologise if you don't get to see the things that you need to see, but I will try and keep you informed as I go along. So I'm just going to reattach that wire now to the aerial clip. And that's not playing very nicely. Put some extra solder on that, some flux on there as well. Push really comes to shove, I can replace the wire. But that seems to have got it now just fine. I'll just set that deeper into the solder. He says bringing the wire straight back out again. That's particularly hot. I now need my hemostat. And we're going to need some more flux on there now, because that solder, whatever was on there, I think is lead free. So it may well have been attempted previously. That's got it. So that's another job there done. So recapping, you're probably going to see the recapping in super speed. That's my preferred option, because it sometimes does take a bit of time to wiggle these things out of where they are. There's one particularly tricky one here. It's tricky because you can't get ordinarily to the side of the board that you need to because of this module. But I do have a knack that involves not having to unstring the tuning and don't have to remove the module. It's a little bit fiddly, but it's my preferred option. It's what I like to do, and it works. It's always worked really quite well. Now that I've said that, obviously it's not going to go really quite well, and you're going to see it all go pear-shaped. Nevertheless, away we go. Here we go, we've got the RT22 back together. I say back together, I mean recapacitated. I've just changed the axials because the two other ones have been more recently changed and they're low value, so I suspect, I'm taking it on trust, that the chap that did this before has done those. But I've changed the axials, haven't tested them yet, haven't tested the radio yet. I've got it kind of cobbled together. I've got my hemostats here, just down here, just holding the jack wires together, and we're going to give it a test. So I will pop on the power supply and we'll go for VHF, because that's the one that wasn't working.
Died in hospitals across the UK. Figures from the Department of Health show there have now been 13,029 deaths in total. Meanwhile, official figures show 9 out of...
Outstanding.
He says the data also show deaths from heart disease and strokes have fallen.
These are very difficult and
the spread of coronavirus. The Health Secretary
safe, hope you're keeping well. But in all seriousness, it is, yeah, I think coming to work is a...
Yeah, so that's good. Proof of the pudding is in the testing, and tested. It seems to be working absolutely fine. So the next thing that we need to do is put the radio back into the case, but we need to clean the case first. I am going to leave that jack plug in. I've tested the connections, and the connections are good. The jack socket itself should be good. It's the only part that I haven't actually tested, but I will do that when I've rewired the connection on there. As far as the case goes, I'm just going to give it a bit of spit and polish and just make it look a bit nice before I put it back in. So bear with me, and I will be back shortly. And here we are, back together. I've taken it apart, I've cleaned it. It's still got a little bit of touching up to do. I've just got the grill bits there to do, with some black paint, some masking tape, but essentially it's done. The caps that I removed, I'm just about to test. So this one was the 470. And is 1380. This one was a 100 and is 127. That one's kind of alright. Small one next, 2.2, and is 2.8. That's okay as well. And this one, a 220, and is 336. High. Another 220. And is 494. And the last one here that I've got to test is a 4.7. 5.33. So a couple there were pretty suspect, especially this one. Let's just have the drum roll for that one. Is 1383. That was a 470 cap, so that was definitely on its way out, and because of where it was in the circuit, could easily have caused the issues on FM. Notwithstanding that, of course, the aerial wire wasn't connected to the clip, so it wasn't making contact with the aerial, so that could have had some bearing on it as well, I suppose. But yeah, it's back together. Let's have a listen. He says, I'll pull the aerial up.
Present to them and be like, I've drawn you a paint.
That's at the top end of the scale. It only goes up to 103 on the scale.
Whatever we wanted to.
Interference from the light.
As in the bones, the mourning of the family left behind belies its whimsical style. There's tragedy.
There's a fear of nuclear war and living in a fallout world.
grow. It's made up of a fake thing, and every day they swap the tortoise for a slightly bigger one.
And on medium flavour,
A64 in North Yorkshire, really busy at the Barton.uk and click on apply to get the help.
Calpine, okay, Fizz.
The M roundabout coming from the town centre, maybe a little bit busy, but nothing too.
it's really quite sensitive, this on medium flavour. There's some interference from something here in the workshop. And the last one, of course, is long flavour.
I don't even stop talking to myself. If I'm not getting somebody, I'll be talking to myself in my head.
So there we go, that was RT on long flavour just to finish it off. So it is a lovely looking radio again. Oops, I still have the jack socket on the back. I've decided to leave that in. It's been done pretty well, so I'm quite comfortable leaving that in there. It's a lovely set. It's got the station markers. It's got a nice shiny dial face now. The brights have been brighted. Yeah, it's delicious. Thanks very much for joining. That's me done for today. There will be more to come in the following days. I have several more Roberts radios. Well, not just Roberts radios actually. Several more radios on the way, courtesy of eBay. So they will be appearing on my lockdown shows here on YouTube. If you've liked what you've seen, give me a thumbs up. If you are a subscriber, thank you. If you're not, please do. There's more of this sort of stuff to come. Again, thanks very much for stopping by, and I hope to see you next time.